Today, we're going to talk about trust in Web3 and blockchain. And for that, we have Pareen with us, who's a former founder of Builders Tribe, a community builder and a Web2 plus Web3 marketer. So, hey Pareen, welcome.
Thank you, Rahul bhai, for having me. An important topic to talk about.
What is trust and why trust is important in blockchain?
Blockchain is supposed to be trustless. So we are actually, what we are going to say today is that we don't, even being in a trustless industry that keeps talking about everything has to be decentralized and trustless without middlemen, without third party. But essentially what we are operating in on ground is 100% based on trust. It basically means that for me to hire someone, to invest in someone, to take investment from someone, to work with a partner on, let's say, a business development proposal or a simple thing like a meetup, it requires a lot of trust to be built. And that means that I need to know that this person equally has skin in the game, is highly motivated as much as I am, and I cannot just look at transactional details, which means today I can go in McDonald's, walk, and I know there is some kind of burger there for me, and that's going to be super consistent, and they are not going to take even a single rupee less than what they do. They are not going to tell, let me come back later and pay. But if I go to a local, chai wala or vada pav wala, and I say, bro, I'll pay you tomorrow, you know me, I visit here every day and I'm not going to cheat you, don't worry. That's a trusted relationship. And mostly in business with Harvard knowledge, what we've seen is people go very transactional. Transactional basically means I come to you and say, hey, we want to do this podcast, let's do this is going to be 40 minutes, this is how, and XYZ money is exchanged and simple. Trusted means that, hey, I think I have an interesting idea. Let's invest 1 hour of both of us together and see what comes out of it. I have full intention of delivering value here to you and to the audience and to everyone else. And this applies for every kind of deal. Fundraising, hiring, customers, community, content, everything is pretty much trust based in this industry because the contracts are still not enforceable, and that's something that a lot of founders and a lot of operators in the industry miss because they come from Web2 or some other industry and they think if I offer a great product, this guy's going to buy it. That's not how this whole industry works, which is very ironic, but it's amazing to know that we are still operating almost entirely on trust here.
I mean, do you think this is cause as humans, we are wired or we have grown these many years cause of trust? Right? I'm trusting every day I'm getting out of the door. I'm trusting someone to do something so my life works in a certain way.
So I met an economist recently in Bangalore, and he was there for Vitalik's session, and we ended up having a very interesting conversation. He said during COVID, India had a very bad phase, and people had to go to their villages to survive because there was no government incentive. There is no social security in India. Everyone knows that. For me, that sounded like, okay, they had a place to go. They had to go to their villages from cities is one scenario, one way of looking at it. And one way of looking at it is that, hey, I have a place to go in my village. People are going to take care of me in whatever way possible. So this is the difference between transactional relationships and trusted relationships. From evolutionary perspective, I think trust was generally built around consensus between people of a tribe. So whenever someone is from a particular tribe, these people, something below 150, have always trusted each other. And if you don't, then how do you operate in a way that your tribe is safe? You have enough resources for your kids. You are taking care of the old people. You are actually progressing in some meaningful way as a tribe. That just cannot happen with few people. The more people that can arrive at this consensus, the faster the tribe grows. We call it trust, but I think it's the real word we are looking at is some kind of consensus, saying, hey, if we drive on the left side of the road, you drive on the right side of the road, and that's as good as it gets. And uh, just last maybe 200 years, we were told. So what this economist actually told me, I don't know if he wants me to name him or not. Pretty famous guy in crypto, but this guy said, I would hate that. What I want to do. He also told me that the foundation behind England being built after Rome was to dismantle people-based relationships and install systemic relationships. So you want to take away people's trust, but put that trust in systems. And that's what we are here to do today. I think we've scaled a lot because of that, because without transactionalism, we don't scale. If I had to go and talk to the chai wala every time I want to have a chai and give some mind about what his problems are, then I won't be able to do my job that well. So transactionalism is needed. It's not like we can completely discount that, but we need to know where it applies, right? For a transactional relationship, a lot of systemic elements have to come in place. Traffic works reasonably well, I think, in India, and pretty well in most countries in the world.
Reasonably well
Yeah,
is stretch,
reasonably
but
well.
yeah.
But I mean, I'm not seeing anyone die since few months at least. So I think it works reasonably well. At least that's an anecdote that I have. It's not hard data, but yeah, essentially, these relationships help us scale. Transactional relationships help us scale. So we need trustless relationships. But the problem is that we are in a frontier industry. Frontier industry is where there is a ton of uncertainty. It's, whenever I visualize, I actually visualize, Vikings going to England. You don't know what you're going to find. Is it going to be a desert? Is it going to be a ice cap place? Is it going to be wild animals? Is it going to be wild humans? What is going to happen? You don't know. So we are operating in a frontier industry. In that, it's almost like battle or war every day, and that means you need trusted people around you, maybe trusted brothers around you. Brotherhood is not the most correct word today, but that is how people operated. That you have my back, I have your back. Let's conquer England, and that was a pretty natural way of operating. Today, with last 100 years of Howard thinking and McKinsey thinking, Infosys thinking baggage, what we've started thinking is that, hey, if I'm paying my accountant to do my job, he should do my job. If I'm paying my designer to do this, he should do this. It's as good as paying for McDonald's burger and getting McDonald's burger. But that's so not true in this industry. It's super, super false. The
Is
same
it
guy will. Sorry, go on.
is that the reason? So when I think of this, right, is it cause we need system when something reaches a number you want to scale, but when you're a smaller number, right, when you're a smaller size, and I think the biggest thing in blockchain also, or even in human life, we need to keep in mind is that we are not interacting or transacting with objects. We're interacting with other humans who have different feelings and they interpret everything very differently. If I go to McDonald's, I talk to them, order, get my food, get out. They won't mind. They won't say, hey, this guy didn't say yes. But if you do the same thing, as you get an example, if I go to my chai wala and just order a chai and then just left, he'll mind. He's like, Pareen sir
Yeah,
didn't
he's
say
not
hi
in a good
today.
mood today.
Yeah, he didn't even greet me. He didn't say came show. Just
Yeah,
like
that,
he knows that you don't want to be in his life. He doesn't want to be in life. But even that he expect because we are interacting in that settings,
of course.
right?
I think what matters is so we move from this traditional chai wala model to McDonald's. Now everyone has machines, and someday in not so distant future we will not have chai walas, which is so sad. But we will not have them
Yeah, what
because
all the MBAs, what all the engineers, BTech
yeah.
people are gonna do then?
Yeah. So loneliness industry is maybe one separate podcast that stems from lack of trust and relationships around, and everyone is talking about that. But for our topic today, I think what matters here is the amount of unknown variables. So imagine if chai wasn't invented yet. Right? It's a very silly example, but I think we should continue
Yeah, most of the
doing
viewers
that.
are very cringing right now, thinking that chat doesn't exist. But yeah,
Yeah, but it wasn't invented. Now you're just experimenting. So every day there are maybe 100 founders who are putting up a shop somewhere and bringing in maybe 30 different materials, and someone's trying to make chai out of something, someone's trying to make chai out of apple, someone's trying to do different things. We don't know what's really going to work today. The number of external variables are just way too high, and that also means that some scammer or grifter will come and say, hey, I've discovered the best chai, now this is going to rule the world, and everyone will give them their money and they will just run away. You can't do anything. It's a fish market. Our industry today is actually a fish market because none of the contracts, hardly, I think most of the contracts are still, I want to be as correct as possible, but I think most of the contracts still can't be enforced here. VCs
yeah,
plot
legally
too
we
much.
don't have much, right? Like
Yeah,
you can say on contract, you can on digital world you can do anything, but in real life world you can't do it to anyone. To anyone, like
exactly,
you have to be
exactly.
at a huge scam level to get the government and everything.
Yeah, Suzu
Like
just got
invested, but yeah.
arrested recently, but that was the most massive scam. Uh, for people, I've invested in startups where someone has rug pulled 2 point something million dollars and just left for Dubai. Now, I'm like, oh man, what happened here? Right now, but there is no way to sue these people, and I don't even want to. But generally, there is no way to enforce contracts with employees. We see people sometimes working on 3, 4 jobs without telling other employers that I'm doing this. Moonlighting is one thing, but not telling people is completely different things. We see people who are investing, but then not treating the founders well, or giving wrong, bad advice sometimes, and there is no way to really enforce any kind of reputation here. So in traditional industry, if someone were to give a bad loan or bad equity investment and run away, they would actually be blacklisted, prosecuted. A lot of things will happen. Here, okay, forget about it. Nothing's going to happen because the industry is nascent. It's not just the smallness of the industry, but the amount of uncertainty that exists, right? Founder that I can give 10K investment to today, in 6 months this guy gets a job where someone's paying him $500,000 of salary. Now what can you
Mostly,
do about this, right? So
yeah, right.
everything is sand. We are operating in sand here, and that makes it ripe for only trusted relationship. So the best of people in this industry are people who have actually built good long-term trusted relationships, and they have helped people, created value for people, and that means that they get enough value from the community whenever they want to do this. So this will not
This
exist forever
remind
though. Yeah.
Yeah, this last line, right? That people who are successful or working in the industry are the people who have built long-term relationships. Also reminds me of one of the ethos I think which I was very attracted to in Web3 was the one identity, where whatever you do, whenever you do, it's all written, recorded, so people know your goodwill. So like we have credit score in real life, we have this XP, or at least I can always see your history of what you do, what you not do, and then based on that I can accumulate some level of trust. Obviously I'm not going to give you, let's say, even if your wallet says that you have handled this much money before, I won't give you that much money. That's a different level of trust, but I know that okay, I can give you 10% of that money because I can see on chain that you have done and managed that, so you will be able to handle this much, right? So I think that also trust, while we say, as you said, like we are designing a trustless technology, but in some way it's a mixture of systematic trust, like transactional trust, where we need in the some level, but it also needs human based trusted relationships, right? The ratio needs to be defined yet. That's I think open to that.
Anyone
Yeah.
on the frontier will be working 80% on trusted relationships, because someone is saying that I have designed the most amazing consensus mechanism and this protocol is going to change everything, it's going to kill Ethereum. How do you know? How do these 100,000 Twitter followers of a particular chain really know? Are they even qualified to know? No, not at all. They are trusting some father figure out there. So it's bullshit that we are. Someday it will all be systematized and decentralized, which I am very bullish on. But till that time, we are experimenting, and whenever we experiment, there are going to be failures and losses, and only way it works is I know that someone put in enough hard work to give it a great shot, and then if it didn't happen, it didn't happen, because we know we are taking that kind of risk. Also on that note, if someone is building what you just said, please talk to me. I would love to figure out how to work together in some way.
Yeah,
Because
let me put this on Super Team and MakerDoc server. So we can do this, please.
yeah, I mean, enough talented people. So I wrote one article on unbundling of money, and that basically means what we've done in last 100 years also is we've captured uh, value in money only. So anything that cannot be denominated in money, people don't value it. Value creation can happen in multiple ways. I could just help someone cross the road here, and but I won't get any dollars for doing that. I won't get my CIBIL score updated for doing that. I think this kind of value, which is non-monetary value, blockchain can unlock very easily.
Blockchain already. In this one, I'm gonna share some Super Team thing here, right? So Mr. Elemenchi, he and Super Team was working together building XPs, which we still have. For example, I'm a member of Super Team, and there were other 10 people who joined with me as member 6 months, 7 months, 8 months back, and now they all are degraded to contributors of first level. The reason being, while they were making money at that time, they didn't do anything else. I didn't make any money for Super Team. Like I was doing projects, but I never made money for them. But what I was doing was, as you said, instead of money, I was helping people in that. I was giving value in that segment, and which also earned me XPs, right? And which made my score, even though I'm not thinking in the traditional money way, where I'm not getting dollars in the whole group, but I'm still helping with knowledge, and which
That's the
gives me an
non-monetary
XP.
value. I mean that in lot of senses, in my mind, I think of them as thank yous. Like okay, I have accumulated so many thank yous. That has some
So
value.
many thank yous. I mean, in that way, favors are also non-monetary values,
Oh,
right?
definitely.
Where you always help out people without expecting anything, but then obviously it always comes back. That's how life is. Now, this brings me to one more question, which is that if there's someone who's starting blockchain right now, like they are just starting, they don't have any on-chain history. Let's say 2 months back they passed out college or in the second, third year of college, and they just want to get blockchain. How do they build trust so people would work with them, give them work? So how would they use trust in that whole process?
I think the easiest way to build trust is to create an immense amount of value for anyone. Uh, if you are creating some value for me, maybe I may not pay it back, but just because I will basically be your goodwill ambassador, someone will do something good for you. So it's not always a very linear kind of a transaction, right? It's a transaction that somehow circles back from somewhere that you can't really predict. It sounds very philosophical and spiritual and hippie maybe, but I think I've seen it work pretty well in my life and a few other people's life at least. That you just create value for whoever possible. When you create value, they see you, and that is the time to say that hey, I want to do something substantial here. Anyone who's starting new, the biggest problem I see in the industry is they want to make a lot of money in few years. That's not going to happen. Generally, I'm telling people that hey, unless you are here for 5, 7, 10 years, no one has made. I can't see a single person who has made money in less than that term, substantial money. So if you're going to be here, might as well start creating value for people that you like in the industry. Just start creating value, and if they're good people, they will just pay it forward, pay it back. and it will come to you in 6 months, 1 year,
True.
I don't know when. And what you said actually fits
But it
here.
will, yes.
Yeah.
It will always come. I mean, in this, I'll quote Neil. He's also, I guess, I don't know if a founder, but he helps community in Super Team. And he told me, so after I left my last job, he was like, I asked him, okay, Neil, what should I do? Because he's in retail business. I was like, I'm just a designer. What should I do? It's like, don't focus on the jobs, don't focus on the projects. Start contributing to different DAOs or different communities. Form.
Yeah, I mean, when you set expectations that are a little broad, it gives way for trusted relationships. When you set expectations that are very, very narrow, that's the McDonald's. I need
Hmm.
exactly this. Even if the ketchup is missing or if five French fries are not there, I'm going to give that person a really bad review because that's very specific.
That's
McDonald's
right.
has set that expectation. So when you get into a community like Super Team, I think the easiest way to go about is to go without expecting something very specific and
True.
expect something very broad in the longer run, and it'll come 10 times more than what you can expect actually, I think.
Yeah, in a way you're trusting that community, you're showing trust first, and that obviously is a similar way. I mean, in
There is
this,
so much proof of work that you can trust now, so why not?
right? I mean, I always go back to human thing because and as you know, I work on brand identity, right? And it's mostly communicating to humans in a very different mediums. And I always go back, like for example, if I have to make friends with a dog, I'll have to trust that dog first, and then the second part will come, right? Animals, that's the biggest thing. You have to trust them first, and they don't do that with the lion. Don't trust them, but everyone else you can. Even I mean,
I
lion
think
also.
I
Me
think
and
I
Pareen, we
can I
both
can
are.
trust most animals better than human beings. Dogs definitely you can
Ooh,
trust.
damn.
You can trust
Hurt,
blindly.
hurt. Hua. But yeah, me and Pain both come from Gujarat, and in here, Gir, we have people who trust lions also, like they interact with them. But it's a different process, like it's a different whole. We are not suggesting that, just gonna add a disclaimer here. But trust is very important. When you give trust, people will obviously trust back. And obviously, you will, as Pareen said, there would be people who will you misuse that trust. But
Right.
I think the benefit of people who will get give you back the trust and good things would always overpower the bad things. But I expect some. Then always it's not always gonna be hunky dory. It's not always gonna be good. There
Oh,
would be some bad elements.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
There will be what you said. I think uh, I would like to call that pilferage of trust. That happens. McDonald's also has 3%, 5% uh, of their stock that gets stolen or it gets damaged. It's not really damaged, but someone's cousin is eating that. Uh, Here we have 5% people betray trust. That's amazing. Even if more
mm.
betray trust, that's okay. That's a filtering mechanism more
And
than
slowly we'll make this much better with the tech. So
yeah.
we start with trusted,
Oh
then
yeah.
we'll get trust, and we make
So
it better.
more things need to be McDonaldized for sure because we need some predictability in our life. Not to say that everything has to be 100% trusted, but anyone who's doing anything cutting edge, not just in blockchain or Web3, but anything that's super cutting edge. If you are sending rockets to the moon, you cannot work without a team that 100% trusts itself. If you are playing international cricket, you
I
cannot
mean,
do
we
that.
know 2011
Yeah,
World Cup, right?
exactly. So
Choosing a different bowler, you gotta trust your captain.
exactly. So without that, it just cannot work. And these are people who are breaking boundaries. When you're breaking boundaries and playing at a high stakes table, trust is super important. And
Super
crypto,
important.
most people don't understand that. That they think, oh, just because I've signed some agreement, everything works very well. But actually, we don't follow brands at all. Here, I was actually after a conversation, I was looking at some statistics, and I saw, how many people follow Stani and how many
Yeah,
people follow
before
Left.
you get into detail, I would frame this question so people know what you're talking about. So, as we both are marketers, this me and Prem, we had this conversation before also, and I'm going to rephrase for everyone for you to have context. We were just discussing how in blockchain, while Web2 marketing is more brand focused, in blockchain that's not the case. So, Prem will tell why it's not the case, how it's not the case. Prince, sir, please go.
So I think every founder that I've met here, generally they don't want to talk to users or community directly. They're techies, they are happy in their code id and just doing this in their office, which is not bad, that's needed. But the problem here is people don't trust brands in web3 at all. I don't follow Lens, I follow Stani. I don't follow Eigenlayer, I follow Sriram Kanan. And you can see that very simply by browsing their Twitter stats. Look at the brand handle and look at the founder's handle. Look at Sandeep's handle and look at Polygon's handle. Look at, maybe I don't know if I follow Super Team every handle out there, but I will not miss a tweet from Akshay. Right? If Akshay
Yeah,
tweets,
Akshay, Kash,
I
Neil,
want
yeah.
that cash tweets. I want to read that. So everywhere, I think uh, the biggest learning from all the philosophical bakchodi that we just did for founders specifically in web3 or anyone operating, frankly speaking, is the fact that you cannot survive without building a personal brand. As a founder, if you're thinking that, hey, some CMO will do your communications and just take care of it, that's not going to work. It requires someone who's the face, someone that people can really hold accountable. And
Again, someone who they can trust. And also this one thing, like when you pointed out Polygon and Sandeep's example, right? I was there, so I would have some information on that, is that while Polygon's account has more followers, but whenever we go about engagement or discussion, that happens more on Sandeep or Jayanti's account. And even Jayanti's account is not as easy as Sandeep. But if I want to see like more meaningful conversation, I would find on these founders. I would definitely see people engaging on Kash account or Neil's account or Akshay's account more than Super Team's account. The
definitely.
reason being is that humans talk to humans, and I think that's where in blockchain, while in Web2 marketing, you just use a brand to give it personality and everything. But in Web3, you'll need to have a founder's personality, as you said, personal brand. And even though I won't call it a personal brand because that's have different materials which they have to work on, but the voice needs to coming from you, right? If I see a brand making a promotion, I might not interact with it. But if I see a human making a promotion, hey, I did this, I was able to achieve this. As a human, I would be more engaging with that human than a brand. And I will also feel, hey, someone did something. So here's my theory on why in blockchain this works is, first thing is blockchain is very new. Like I mean this for the last two and a half years something. But even if I take it, it's very new. It's not like Web2 has been 30-40 years since we have the whole internet, but this is very new. So people lack context or history behind it. But when I'm talking about Polygon, if I'm a member who joined recently, I would see Polygon Labs. If I was a member who joined a year back, I would see Matic plus Polygon. And if I met them 3 years ago, I would just know Matic and then see the growth. Now for a member who joined today, if you Google Polygon, you won't get any history about it. But if I Google Sandeep, I'll know everyone thing about it. I'll know where he was born, I know where he studied, I know where he comes from, I would know about his story, which automatically gives me context about that human. And I relate to that person in any way I can. Right, and for example, I would relate to Sandeep because he studied in Nirma, Ahmedabad. I was like, oh, same city, nice. Right, I would relate on that. Then I would see, okay, he started with this, 4 people, different relatability stories. But with Polygon, that relatability is different. And cause Web3 is a very low trust industry where you have to be very, very cautious when you're interacting with anyone. Because we have seen brands' account get hacked and all that. Even founders' accounts also get hacked. So you are always on that panic level, cautious level. Okay, something happens, even something good happens, you will always ask it twice or thrice. Is it really happening or not? Right. So having a human history, I think culture makes more sense than just going with brands.
Oh, definitely. I think also we've seen enough people held accountable personally here.
Yeah.
We don't see that outside. Every time there is some mess up that happens, people will go and tag the founder. People will not wait for them to release a press statement. That just doesn't happen. There are hardly, I think, press conferences in this industry, and that's the beauty. That's why it attracts some crazy-minded people who want to do bold stuff here. Uh, but if you want to do bold stuff, I think uh, every Twitter handle that I analyzed very roughly, even the nerdiest of founders, the founders have way more engagement, like you said, than the brand handle. So if a founder or someone is thinking that, hey, I can outsource my social media and do this and do that, that's going to really, really
Yeah.
bomb
Yeah,
in the
it
biggest way.
won't work.
Yeah.
It won't work. I mean, even in Web2 stuff, in Web2 at least, same. Yeah, if you have years of, so like I was just thinking on this idea. I don't know if I tweeted about it or not, but I was like Balaji and already has so much data about him online, right? Which I can put into a AI and make a chatbot of Balaji, right? Because I know what answer he'll give because I can predict that with AI. Right? So in that way it works because we have so much data about Balaji. He has done so much work. He has posted so many different tweets and so many like articles and books, right? Makes sense. There you have much data, but the different new founder you won't have that much, right? So even a social media company can't get in your mind and get your thoughts out. That's
Yeah.
you're gonna get when you are gonna sit and write and interact with people.
And it has to look authentic. I think one of the problems with this kind of thinking is that founders do it out of no choice. And then it's not authentic. It sounds like a machine wrote this, even if the machine did not.
Yeah, so
And
this is again a myth, right? So like not a myth, but I think a wrong understanding with founders. They think, okay, if we are talking about company, we just gotta talk about company. And I like whenever I meet any founder, I tell them, okay, no, you do the bullshit you want to do. It's your personal account. People understand that. You want to post about your family, post about your family. You want to post about a game you're playing, post about a game you're playing. Don't worry. But whenever you need make a post about your company, you do that, interact on that. But you can't always talk about your work every single day or your company every single day because you need to, cause as a founder, you need to have more human conversations. You can't just say today we launched this and done. I have to reply to that. So if
definitely.
I'm going to say that I will launch something, I have to say how I tell another human being. Like if I meet you on the road, I won't say, hey Pareen, I launched this and just walk away. No, right? But say, hey Pareen, what's happening? You know what I did today? I launched this and we're working on this for 6 months and finally I launched it. I'm really happy. Same thing, but the content became more conversative and it's more real life. So when I tweet this, it makes more sense than just saying, hey, we tweeted. Like we launched this, right? So I think that's where people have to understand that even though you don't have, like people get afraid that we have to behave a certain way if you're representing companies and do this.
That is actually an anti-signal for Web3 market. If someone is being acting like, let's say, a corp communications department of a large company, then that becomes actually an anti-signal in this industry, and people start questioning more stuff. Instead, if a founder just engages, it's not necessary that they post out personal stuff. It's not hard necessary,
Okay, for them,
but
whatever works for them.
there's no other way to be learning Twitter, because most of these founders need to learn Twitter. And to learn, my generally what I tell them is every day there should be one tweet that goes out for next 60 days. If you do that, it may be a song that you're listening to, if it's something, and there are 200 followers, so no one's looking at you today, but someday when you raise money, you're going to have tens of thousands of people looking up to you, and that's going to be too much pressure if you don't do this right now. If
Yeah, and I mean, in this case, I love Jayanti's account, right? Twitter account.
Oh yeah,
Because he's posting about movies, he's posting about food, he's
yeah,
posting about something experimenting he's doing. And he's very less posting about tech right now, right? But I'm still enjoying his content because this gives me an idea of how of
oh
a
he
human
is.
being is, his interest and all that, right? Navratri is coming. We all are gonna post about Garba. Like that's something which is gonna happen in life, and we're gonna post about it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And I compare this. I compare this with blogging. Like if you see today's blogging, right, and if you compare it with the blogging 4 years back or 5 years back when Casey and everyone started, it has changed very drastically. While 4 years before blogging was that you have perfect shots like here and there, you have perfect script and all that, or at least better quality and all that. Now it has become the more raw it is, the more daily life it is, it works better. Like I follow 2 3 folks. One is an Indian truck driver who just make a blog that, hey, I'm driving this, we made this food, we delivered this and that. Very simple thing, but it's fascinating to me because I'm consuming all this Netflix Prime and crazy polished content. I want some raw content. Same goes for another pani puri guy, someone who sells pani puris and he makes a blog out of it.
Wow.
Same goes for, like, I follow many people in even now outside India and also, right, who just talked about their daily life. hey, we are like, one of my favorite Instagram blogging channel is a person who makes signboards by hand. And every day he's like, okay, today we got this order of painting this signboard and we'll deliver it. Simple task, but it fascinates me to look into their life
Wow,
in a
man,
different way,
that's so
right?
cool.
Like different, I get a understanding of their behavior and how they are in the context of life, right? So I feel today, if you're handling a Twitter account, don't just give me the whole thing, because that's, I mean, understandable. If you want to get that audience, if you just want that, perfect. But I feel more human you are, the more trust builds for you with people.
Yeah, I mean, see, there will be probably, I think, two kinds of creators. One is experts, people who know things that no one else knows, and second is people who are very aligned, trusted people. And experts are more like TV anchors that you think are experts. They may not be, but that's what they were supposed to be. TV anchors were supposed to be experts initially, originally, before they became mouthpieces. But they are now surfacing that, okay, someone's talking about something so deep that not many people know about this. Second kind of people are people who are researching. Researching basically means someone's telling me, like this guy, food farmer on Instagram, right? He, every day I'm just seeing his videos and I'm like, shit, this is what my mom used to tell me. That, hey, don't eat Bonvita, it's not good actually. Don't eat bread, it's not good actually. And he's explaining some scientific facts behind it. But he's not an expert. Why I follow him is because he's very relatable. He looks like someone who's out to do good in the world. He seems like he cares for his audience, and that's the kind of people that I want to follow. And someone who's trying to be very egoistic or rude or just arrogant, even if they're churning out the best content, I won't follow them because it's very hard for me to trust a person like that. Some other people might be able to build trust with that kind of people much better than me. But you want to follow people who are not machines. Not being a machine is going to be more in AI era.
Yeah, I mean, there are, I'm gonna contradict myself, but there are people, like, for example, I know a few friends who don't like personal stuff on Twitter. And I'm like, okay, it's totally
Yeah, no
fine.
problem. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it is who I am. It's how easier it for me. And what, so the way I see this, right? Like, if ever I start my own company or start my own startup, it will be something which I'm passionate about. And how would you know what I'm passionate about is when I share the things I'm passionate about. Today, right now, that's type, font, Devanagari. So I'm going to talk about that. Tomorrow it will be something else. The third time it might be the company I'm working for, like a company I'm making. Right? So that is, for me, that's what matters. That, because I feel also that build trust in long term as a person in you. Like, for example, today I can talk about Web3, tomorrow I might talk about AI, but they'll trust me based on the personality they know, not with the content I have. Like, so even trust building based on person and content is very different. Similar problem, like this same concept I also saw when I was designing pitch decks. There are founders for whom I'll make the whole pitch deck with just content, data, and that. And there are founders who the first slide will be team, and then the story of how they find this idea, why they connect with this. And I might be wrong, but I have heard this more on the Shark Tank US, that investors have invested more into founders than the companies because they like the founders and see that, okay, they would be able to do something out of the whole money they are learning or earning.
Yeah, I think in I don't know. I have a lot of mixed thoughts about Shark Tank, but
Yeah, it's
generally,
a different.
angel investors, this is who they bet on. Pre-seed, earlier stage VCs, this is what they bet on. That's what entire builder type thesis is. That forget about the tech, forget about everything else. Just look at the founder and their perseverance and passion for this project. As long as that exists, then you are willing to work it with them instead of just giving them some money and telling them to get out of here. So I think that's a way to attract somehow your own tribe. I keep getting very interesting DMs on very unrelated things to Web3 because now people are discussing very different things with me. My
Mm.
Twitter is actually my personal growth engine more than anything else. So of course it helps business or whatever project I'm working on. But more than that, it helps me grow because I can really attract people who are doing, let's say, second brain stuff. I can attract people who are doing poetry, Gujarati content. I can attract people who are doing Web3 certainly, and I think that is super underrated as a power. And a lot of these things just happen in DMs. It's not on the timeline. So
Yeah.
to reach that stage, there is no book to learn. The way to go about doing this is to just tweet.
Other than the book of life.
And don't tweet every day, and in 60 days you will be like, oh, okay, this is what happens when I do this.
I mean, I'm a great example of this. I tweeted for 3 days consistently every day. And I was on the mission of doing 6 tweets a day. And mostly my account sees growth, and more than the account numbers, the people I got connected with changed a lot. Because
Yeah.
I got, like, I mean, that's why I feel consistency is very big player when you want to grow in that part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we will be able to conclude the whole conversation here. So trust-wise, if you summarize this in shorter, I'm gonna try. You tell me if I could add something or I was wrong somewhere. Is that you start with trusted relationships where you build trust with humans, but then you start slowly transitioning it to transactional trust, where you start building systems and everything. And so while we are working in a trustless technology where we have to remove trust fully, but to remove it, we need to make sure that it is there. So first we have to install it or make trust there, and then slowly, chunk by chunk, we remove it and make this whole technology trustless.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect thing. Only thing that I would add here is that don't try to create brands. They don't last. They just don't. It's all sand. Today, if X person quits, Y, the whole project dies, and we are still very, 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 very far from this dream
So
called
bet on builders.
decentralization. Generally, bet on people anywhere. I think,
Yeah.
regardless if you're working on Frontier, if you're working in McDonald's, no doubt. If you're working on something that has been done for 50 years, 100 years, you don't need trust. The specifics are in place. Anywhere there is ambiguity, anywhere there is uncertainty, too many variables, it's there is no choice but to build trust. If you want to be anon or something, still that anon handle has value on Twitter because
Trust.
that
It also
handle is
people trust
building
that
trust.
meme at least.
Yeah, that handle is building trust. So you could say Rune did this, or that guy did that, but everyone knows, okay, Rune, there is a personality of Rune. It's not just some anon handle who's hidden. And subtle parts of Rune's personality are very visible on Twitter. So learn, I think, this from this, and don't try and build brands because brands are not going to last.
Cool. Pareen, thank you. That was really helpful. I think the audience will
I
get
hope so.
so many
It was
different
very
valuable
candid.
things
Yeah.
there. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for coming, Pareen.
Thank you, Rahul.